I hit the live button. All right. So we are live. We are live. We are live. Hello, everyone. I know this is like a shock because I usually don't do live streams anymore, but I thought
I know
today would be a good
everyone
day to
doesn't
do a
get to
live
see you
stream.
anymore. It's very sad.
Yeah, because I'm doing all my produced content. Let me change my earphones around. But I thought this was some of you have sent me this video, which I thought was interesting, where the lead attorney is calling out Officer Tatum for his review, but it's actually not the lead attorney. So it's Officer Tatum did a video about the Jacksonville incident, which we're going to be speaking about. So then Lackluster from Police Accountability, he did a response to Tatum, calling him a bootlicker. Tatum then responded to Lackluster. Then Lead is responding to Tatum's response to Lackluster. And now we're responding to Lead's response to Tatum's response to Lackluster's response,
which is also to the original video. So how many deep levels are we in this deep in this?
We're like reaction inception. I want to sound like, wow, we're like 7 levels in. But now Lead is going to, so a couple of you asked me to react to this video, and do I agree with Tatum? Now, the title says Officer Tatum is a bootlicking moron, and that's because that was the original video, and that's Lead's video, the lead attorney's video. So I just use the same title. I hope he doesn't get offended by it. Maybe I'll change it, right? Because I just wanted to just
Uncivil takes no position at this time as to whether anyone is or is not a moron. For the record,
yes. I don't believe Tatum is definitely not a moron. I don't know. It was just that's just the title of the original thing. I think he does do it because don't forget Tatum was all with the Uvalde. Remember, he was all in the cop style for Uvalde. So that was a little bootlicking right there. And it's funny because Tatum is he used to be a cop, and he was saying you can arrest people on reasonable suspicion in the what case was that? That was the Ahmaud Arbery case. And I was like, how would a cop not know you can only arrest people on?
Yeah, unless it's a slip, because I've made that mistake before.
No.
I've used the wrong term before. I've made a mistake.
No. He's multiple videos. He was saying the same thing, like multiple videos.
Yeah.
So I was like, well, hold on. Does he know this is incorrect? And then like even Andrew Branca from that Law of Self-Defense, he didn't know. Like he's saying the same thing too. And I'm like, you're a lawyer. You're telling people this. But then we had the actual when I had to show them in the case, like here is the attorney for the attorney and the judge. Everybody says probable cause, and they had to finally admit it's probable cause. But I don't think I think Tatum is still talking about you need reasonable suspicion, which but he was a cop. He's not a lawyer, so he could make a mistake. But anyway, let's just jump into this and let's not lead it up. Why are they saying that he's a bootlicking moron? What I don't know what's going on here. I've watched part of the video before, so a lot of this stuff is going to be new to me too. So let's go through it and see what's up. So I'm going to go through it with uncivil law, and then the audience, we're going to be looking in the chat too, because I want to be seeing what you guys are saying too. Is it true? Is it not true? So, yeah. All right.
Well, if we are jealous, which of the persons in this long chain of names we recited are we jealous of? Because we have to be more precise, because we're like 8 levels down on this. So, which one are we jealous of? That's the real question.
No, I think I like Tatum. I think Tatum is great. I personally watch his stuff. I like Tatum. I'm not, but you gonna say I'm jealous of me. I'm jealous of his success. Maybe I don't know. I don't know what I'd be jealous of. But I like Tatum. I don't, and I like Lee too. Am I jealous of Lee? Maybe so. He's a great lawyer, great guy. Am I jealous of Lackluster? Yeah, maybe so. I don't know. I don't know if jealousy is the right word. Envious, maybe. I don't know. But
envious would be the correct word. Jealousy is when you're afraid of them taking something from you. Envy is when you want something that they have. So envy would be correct. Yes.
All right. So let's go through it. Let's see why our boy is calling out these guys. So here we go. I'm playing it.
Shout out to brother Officer Tatum. Now, I hate to do this to him. I hate to make this video, but Officer Tatum is a boot-licking moron.
He doesn't seem to hate it that much.
Yeah, he kind of came out right with it, right?
I mean, if he hated it, you'd expect him to express it with a little bit more. I mean, you can have a strong opinion a little bit more delicately, maybe.
Like, he's a boot licking more. Like, you kind of hit us right at the beginning with it. Right at the beginning.
Yeah.
Here we go. Oh man.
Apparently.
Next, Tatum thinks that the officers used a proportionate amount of force for the situation, because he's a bootlicking moron.
If you don't know what you're talking about, don't make a video about Brandon Tatum. That's it.
Mm.
Put your biases aside, put your anti-police rhetoric aside, do some research
Hello.
before you decide to make a video calling me a bootlicker and all kind of other stuff when you have no idea what you're talking about according to the law. You have no idea what you're talking about according to police interactions. You have no idea what you're talking about according to what you claimed that I said and the positions that you said I took and didn't take.
All right, guys, we are heating up.
All right, this is gonna be good. This is gonna be good. We got the he's already we look at Moron. We got controversy. This is gonna be a good video. Let's
I've been called both things depending on whether I decide for the police or against the police. In the history of my channel, I've been called a bootlicker and like I hate the police. I've been called everything depending on which side of the analysis comes down that day.
Yeah, it's funny because even today I did a video earlier on I had the AI's like look at the argument that Tulsi Gabbard did, and I just put like that analysis. Here's what the AI said, and everybody's all upset because the AI didn't say what they wanted them to say. And I kept asking people like, all right, where's where's Chat GPT wrong? What part of the analysis is incorrect? What don't you like? And they all and they're like, no, they're just left-wing lunatics. I'm like, that doesn't help. It's like you're not telling me anything. You're just saying it's bad because you don't like what it said. You're not telling me bad because there's something in there that's actually bad. But I think there's just a lot of people who just want it to be bad because it's not the conclusion they wanted to. Instead of saying, hey, here's particularly where it's wrong. And I understand because we're in that kind of world, but it's frustrating sometimes. It's like, okay, so what? It's a chat bot. So what? It's stupid. Okay, so tell me where it's wrong. But then when you look in the comments, everybody's like, oh, well, it's kind of right. Well, if it's right, then what does it matter where it comes from? Also known as the genetic fallacy, when you dismiss something just because of the source, not because of the content. But we'll go.
We are talking today about two heavyweights going at it. We have the officer Tatum. Y'all know him, a huge Goliath in the space. He has over 3 million subscribers, a big dog. But then you have another YouTuber, a man named Lackluster. He also has over 1 million subscribers. Lackluster has called Officer Tatum out over this whole JSO officer viral video.
Now, you did analysis on this, right?
I did.
What did you come to it?
I made a mistake in the factual predicate. My analysis was wrong because I didn't see something on the video. I missed it.
Right,
So
well,
I made the video unlisted because it's not correct because I missed something.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Listen, at Chitsy says, Nate, I watched the AI video. Do you really want? No, I don't want AI making legal decisions. I actually thought it was just going to be funny to see what the AI said and then have people like say, hey, this is where it's wrong, whatever. But the wild part about it is that no one is telling me where the AI is wrong. Everybody's just saying they're dismissing it because it's AI. So I assumed it had biases. I assumed it was this, but I said, let me put it out there to see if people argue with the substance, and no one argued with the substance. See, AI is as biased. Exactly. Yeah, it's biased. But then I said, so where is it biased in the argument? And if you can't show me, then I think it speaks more of your own bias than a bias of the AI. But again, that's just my opinion. But I assume the AI is a left-wing bias. So that's why I was asking people to show me. It just was what it was.
Lackluster calls Officer Tatum a moron, calls him a bootlicker. Now Officer Tatum has responded back. What I'm going to do is review this video, and I'm going to look at one thing specifically. I'll be honest with you, they talk about a lot of different issues, and if I tried to cover them all, I'd be here all day. So I'm only going to cover one. Maybe in future videos, I'll pick up some more issues and I'll decide who is right and wrong. Again, I am the lead attorney, practiced law down here in Atlanta over 20 years. I've handled countless criminal cases, so I've got a perspective on this. Now, Lackluster and Officer Tatum.
Well, just so you got, if you watch my channel, I'm a former, I was a cop, I was a DA, I've arrested many people, I prosecuted many people. So I have experience in this world too. So we'll see what happens. But I don't think Lead has had the experience on the other side of the aisle where he's been a cop, and so I've actually done it all. I've been a cop, prosecutor, and defense attorney. So yeah, I've done all three, which is kind of crazy.
are arguing back and forth about numerous issues, but I'm only going to pick up one today. Today, we are only going to talk about the rain issue. Was the officer correct in pulling over the driver because he didn't have his headlights on?
Is there a reason that you're pulling me over? Yeah, absolutely. There's a reason why I'm pulling you over. For one thing, inclement weather, you don't have your lights on.
Now, it needs to be said that the officer had a couple of more reasons why he pulled the driver over. But
all right, so the initial stop, what do you think? The officer goes up and he shows that the officer said, I'm pulling you over, no headlights in inclement weather. What say you?
I mean, if this is going to turn on precision of Florida law, which it sounds like it is, I mean, then we're going to have to get into exactly what Florida law says on this particular point.
And I think he does go into that. So, but I think that most states have it. Inclement weather, you put your lights on when it's raining.
I don't think it necessarily has to be raining.
It could be snowing or anything.
Yeah.
But let's
it could be foggy.
Yeah.
It could be, I don't know, solar eclipse. I don't know. Could be a lot of things.
Dark.
Yeah.
We are just going to focus on the headlight issue and the rain issue. Was the driver required to have his headlights on because of the rain? Officer Tatum and Lackluster can't agree on this point, and I'll be honest with you, a lot of you can't agree either. I did a video on this recently, and I got so many comments about the dang rain. I mean, just look at what you guys are sending me 44 minutes ago. Am I the only one that sees raindrops all over the dude's car? 55 minutes ago, I see raindrops. If it wasn't raining, why are there raindrops? Dude, it was clearly raining. Come on, Lee. There were raindrops everywhere. It's rain, rain, rain. It's 100% raining. The beautiful Ricky says, Lee, I usually agree with you, but you can see the raindrops. Guys, I tell you, I got hundreds and hundreds of comments. There's literally rain on the car. Everybody's talking about this rain. So who is right?
Maybe it's a
Lackluster
sprinkler
or Officer Tatum, the bootlicker? By the end of this video, you will know decisively who is right and who is wrong in this debate. And it's very important for me to tell you that you're not going to know who's right or wrong just because I told you. You are going to know who's right and who's wrong because you critically thought for yourself. So here's what we're going to do. It is your first day in law school. You are sitting in my criminal law class.
So he put us in law school, criminal law class. Let me fast forward this a little bit, see if I can get some more substance here. All right, so now he pulled up something.
We're going to quote a statute. That's always a good place to start.
Here we go.
His headlights on. That's the officer was allowed to pull the. We're going to talk about this case and whether the officer was allowed to pull the driver over because he didn't have his headlights on.
That's the issue. That's the issue.
That's the only thing we're focusing on. We're not out focusing on whether he could have pulled him over for some other reason. Focusing on only this reason for the moment. Fair enough. I understand the premise of the game. We're doing.
All right, so we're in again. All right, Jason. Jason says my Epstein immunity video missed the fact that the deal explicitly said it was only valid.
No.
You know what, Jason?
No, it didn't.
You're gonna make you making me now have to go back and pull up the Epstein deal.
It didn't say that.
Prove that. No.
It didn't say that.
Stop. Jason has paid me $5.
You want to? Okay, if you want to take the time to school him for the $5, that's fine.
Yes. No, I'm not schooling them. I'm just we're making sure we have Jason. I'm pulling up the agreement. I'm stopping this to answer this question and pull up the video because you've called me out. So here
you have it. You have it on the ready.
Oh yeah,
on the ready.
Of course. Just in case. This is I was doing another video on it. It says right here: if Epstein successfully fulfills all the terms and conditions of this agreement, the United States also agrees it will not institute any criminal charges against any potential co-conspirators of Epstein, including, and it lists them all. It talks about the agreement of this. Look further, upon execution of this agreement and a plea agreement with the state's attorney's office. So this doesn't say just Florida. It says the United States also agrees. This talks about the United States, the United States, the United States. So I'm sorry, this is the United States.
There are other places where it mentions Southern District of Florida, but not in this key section. And also, there's not the standard paragraph, which they usually at the end, which says, by the way, this only applies in this jurisdiction. Blah 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 blah. So yeah, neither of those things. So that's why we are where we are in the first place.
And I just want to also make mention very clearly that the New York court, the Florida court, the New York Circuit Court, the appeals court, all agree she has immunity. The only place the Second Circuit only says the immunity is only that where it says here the United States, that just means Florida. That's the only contention. Is it just Florida or is it the United States? So, but thank you though. But at least let me bring up the Epstein, because a lot of people love it when you guys use this format, panel discussions running on all channels, and they running.
Yeah, that's a loyalty test. Which one are you going to be watching it on, mine or his?
Yeah, we're running them up here. Here you go. And you guys, oh boy, we got a lot of it. Hey, meow, meow, meow. The pullover, I get it. That's from Super Troopers. Meow. You don't want to get meow. Thank you for the $1.99 super sticker. Here we go. So let's get back to this. All right. So let's get back to what we were talking about. So we're talking about the stop. Now, before we get involved in this, what do you need to stop somebody if you're a cop?
RAS, reasonably articulable suspicion.
Now, so let me pull lead down so we can be on, because we're talking law. All right, so lead is about to go into the stop. Now, when the police arrest you, they need probable cause. That's a higher standard. But when they're doing a traffic stop, they need reasonable suspicion, and that's from a case called Terry v. Ohio. So uncivil. School them on what reasonable suspicion is, what they need.
Well, it's basically information that would lead a person to believe that a crime is afoot, is essentially what it boils down to. It doesn't really require any particular evidence, but it just requires indicia, for lack of a better description, that something is wrong or something is not happening. That's enough for a stop, right? To be able to figure out what's going on. In the classic case of Terry itself, it was Mr. Terry who was seen passing a window of a jewelry store at night or something, and he passed by, going back and forth multiple times, 3 or 5 times or whatever it is. Police stopped him to ask him what he was doing. The police thought maybe he was casing the joint, and that was Terry. It's there's nothing illegal about walking up and down the same street and looking in the jewelry store window multiple times. Is not illegal, but the time of day as well as the circumstances led the officer to believe that something might be afoul. So that was basically Terry. So you need enough indicia to suggest that there could be some illicit skullduggery afoot.
Yes. Because don't forget, cops aren't seizing you when they pull you over for a traffic violation. They're just literally stopping you and giving you some civil violation, and that's it. So the standard is low. I like a good example of a legit legit stop would be a cop. Let's say a cop. There's a radio call. A guy with a gun, and he's wearing a white coat, and are driving down the road, and they happen to see a guy with a white coat. They don't see a gun, see the guy with a white coat. That they could initiate a Terry stop for something like that. They're not arresting a guy, but they have enough articulable facts. Hey, he's in the area. He has a white coat. White coats are pretty unique in this area. We don't see a lot of people, and so we made a stop, and you can even frisk that person. Right. But the reason, but you don't absolutely have to know he has a gun. You don't absolutely have to know that's the guy. You just have to have that be able to articulate the reason for the stop, and that it wasn't just some hunch. You had more than just, I think it might be the guy. Go ahead, Uncivil.
No, it's just basically saying, it's right. It's it's because he's geographically proximate, temporally proximate to whatever it is the police are looking for. He's in the area at the time that the thing occurred. It's this thing just happened. It was a white coat, and he's here in the area. It just happened with the white coats. It's okay, that might be our guy. Let's follow up.
Yes.
That's basically what it is. Not much.
They said you are seized when you are pulled over. No, you are seized when you're arrested. You are stopped when you pull over. That's what they call it, a traffic stop.
Fair. And even if it is a seizure, the Supreme Court says okay. So either way.
And we can then even if we want to use the probable cause method for the stop, right? You have that probable cause that a crime has been committed, and this person is the one that committed the crime. You still don't have to have absolute proof that crime, that person is the person to do it. Matter of fact, absolute proof isn't required unless you're talking about even beyond a reasonable doubt. A conviction at trial doesn't require absolute proof. It's just beyond a reasonable doubt. So these are lower standards, but generally a stop, you really need reasonable suspicion just to make the stop. And generally you can obtain that just because you saw you see the guy make the left turn or something like that. But let's move on. Here we go. Let's see how lead runs into this.
Again, there are a lot of other issues that we can talk about, but I don't want to make this video too long. So, was the officer allowed to pull the driver over because the officer saw that he didn't have his headlights on? That's the question that I'm asking you. And you, at your first day of law school, you say, well, I don't know. How am I supposed to figure it out? Well, I'll tell you, young student, if you have a question about the legality of something, the first place you go to is the law. You go to the state statute. All right, here is the state statute right here, the Florida Senate, the Florida statutes, when lighted lamps are required. All right, this is going to explain to us when you have to have your headlights on. If the officer saw that the driver did not have his headlights on when required, then the officer was correct in pulling him over for this violation. Let's read it. It says, every vehicle operated on a highway within the state shall display lighted lamps and illuminated devices as herein respectively required. Okay, number one, at any time from sunset to sunrise. So basically at nighttime in the twilight hours. But here is where we get into the thick of things. You are required to have your headlights on during any rain, smoke, or fog. So if I ask you, young student of mine, when in Florida are you required to have your headlights on relevant to this specific case? The answer is during any rain, smoke, or fog. You got that? Rain.
Okay.
So far, so good. Got it.
We all agree. During any rain, smoke, or fog, you got to have your headlights on. All right, so let's go through it.
Rain, smoke, or fog. That's it. Now, you guys may say, wow, being a lawyer is pretty easy. I know what rain means, I know what smoke means, and I know what fog means, right? Well, I got you. The most important word when we analyze this particular situation is not rain, is not smoke, and it's not fog. What's the most important word?
Any?
It's during. You see?
Yeah, not any, during. So let's see what during.
Here, guys,
I mean, there were a lot of other choices.
Yeah, there were a lot of. There was 1, 2, 3. 4,
It was during,
5,
any, or. It's one of the three choices. I don't want a third chance.
In here, this is the operative word.
Right,
this
during.
state statute, honestly, is very specific. It doesn't say before it's raining. It doesn't say after it's raining. It says during the rain.
Okay.
So what does that mean? It means that
We could get into a really fun
officer
question about what does that mean? What exactly does it mean during the rain?
It means at the same, while it's raining, or at the same. I think that's where he's going with this. So let's look at it.
has to initiate the traffic stop during the rain. The officer has to pull this driver over while it's raining. The pulling over of the driver and the rain needs to occur simultaneously. Is that clear to you? And since you're
No.
Where
that
is
hold on,
unspecified in the statute. During any rain, I mean,
yeah,
it's raining somewhere.
But that's not accurate. When I'm pulling you over, it doesn't. So I have to observe you. So let's say I'm on the highway. You know how cops like are stationary on the highway? The cop car goes by, the car goes by, you see somebody, and then you get the lights on and you start driving to pull them over. So at that time, when you observe them, if you observe them and it's raining and they don't have their lights on, then you start trying to pull them over. And let's say because you can drive through the rain, right? And something like here in Texas, it can be raining here, but across the street, it's not raining. So they can drive out of the rain, or even the rain could just stop. And I've pulled you over. So I pulled you over, not during the rain, but right after the rain, or in close proximity. That still gives me my reasonable suspicion. That still gives me, if you want to say probable cause, that still gives me probable cause, because I've observed you driving without your headlights on in the rain. Does that mean
right? Because it has to be at the time of the offense, right? Yes. So the question is not whether the headlights are on when he's pulled over. That's not the question. The question is, were the headlights on during the rain?
Correct.
So
and
if it stopped raining or stopped being smoky or foggy, as the case may be, then you no longer have to have your headlights on. But if it wasn't on at the time, that's what matters.
Exactly. So I'm hoping he'll show the video before the stop and say, well, hey, all this time it wasn't raining, because that's the only way he would be able to get over that, right? The cop could easily say it was raining and it just stopped and we pulled them over, and then we had all this other stuff. So let's see what he says.
First year law student, it's your first day of class. You might say, well, that's not really what they meant, right? They didn't mean during. No, the United States Supreme Court, all the way down to all the lower courts, have always said that the legislature means exactly what they've said. If
well, first of all, no, but sorry, I was going to go to a different point, but you're laughing at that point. Yeah. The courts mean that the legislature means what it wrote. Yeah, that's definitely what courts do with their time. That's a fair point of mockery.
No, I'm not even. I just thought it was funny because there's one case. It's like when Susie said that, you know, the one case that it reminds me of, the most famous case in the world, Marbury v. Madison.
Yeah, that too. Yeah, did he just say that the courts say what the legislature wrote with few exceptions? Because by few exceptions, he means massive volumes of exceptions, then I suppose.
Oh my God. Yeah, no. But essentially, people, if you've watched this shit, if you watch Kurt's channel, how many cases have we read where what it says literally on the page, they'll say, no, forget about all that. This is what we say it says. And Marbury v. Madison stood for the proposition that the court says what the law is.
Yeah.
So no matter what's on that page, and we can give how many examples we can give. If
the courts really were saying that it means what it says in the law books, we wouldn't need as many lawyers, man.
Yeah, we wouldn't need the courts. We just say, what did it say?
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah. Let me see. Didn't the police officer state he pulled him over for a seatbelt in addition to, well, he just showed it. He said he just pulled him over for the headlights. And Lead is talking about the headlights with this. So what I'm saying is that, and again, I'm being unfair to Lead because he could go into exactly like, hey, here is a traffic stop from the beginning when they first observed them. There's no rain. It stopped raining. Then I think you'd have a better argument. But I don't know what he's going to show us. And it says also, in addition to the lack of light, also does a wrongful stop by the police mean you should no, absolutely not.
No, you should always comply with the police and for lawful orders. Fight it out in court, man.
No,
don't do that.
You should not close your door and do all that because, again, don't forget, officer safety is one of the things the Supreme Court loves to give the officer safety. Close the door, officer safety. People have, like, police officers have killed people, and the courts have said that's okay because the officer didn't feel safe. That's kind of how we go with this. So officer safety is a big thing when it comes to this. He's scared. They're not military, they're police. So they want to go home. So the courts really, really are deferential to officer safety. So closing your door and start fumbling and stuff, that's going to get you in some.
I was also going to point out before you started laughing, and I realized what point you wanted to make, that criminal law in particular is to be narrowly construed.
Yes.
Because it's a criminal law. So if this is a criminal sanction, which we could actually get into the finer points of whether this counts as a criminal law for the purposes of this analysis or not. But if it were, it's to be understood narrowly, which means that it's to be interpreted against the government to the extent there's ambiguity.
Yes. Of course. Yes. Because they have all the power.
Yeah.
The legislature would have wanted to write this law to say, before the rain, then the legislature could have done that. If the legislature wanted to say 30 minutes after the rain or an hour after the rain, the legislator could have wrote that in the statute. The legislature did neither, however. The legislature said during.
There's a famous case out of New York, people. And it's a case in which there was this gentleman, he worked for the federal government as a corrections officer. And in the statute, in the New York statute, it literally said, if you are a corrections officer within the state of New York, you can carry a firearm. So this guy was like, hey, I'm a corrections officer for the federal government. I live in the state of New York. Let me go get a firearm. So he goes to his local firearm dealer, right? And the firearm dealer is scratching his head. He's like, are you sure? He says, look at the law. It says right here. It says it word for word. They looked at it together. The firearm dealer looks at it together and said, you know what? It's good for me. That's what it says. Guy gets the firearm, eventually gets pulled over by police. Police say, hey, show us your piece. He's like, hey, I'm a corrections officer of the feds. Here it is. They arrest him. That's only for state officials. If you're a state corrections officer, goes to court. And you know what the court said?
It means what it says on the page.
We interpreted that law to only mean state corrections officer.
Did they really?
Yep.
What jerks.
And they sent him to jail. They sent him to
What about
jail.
that whole narrowly construed thing I meant earlier? Because it's criminal statute, right? So what
Yeah.
about that narrowly? They didn't do the narrowly construed thing?
They didn't do nearly
Oh,
construed.
okay. Well,
No. And they sent him to jail. And they call it, it's a famous case for mistake of law. It's somebody just reading the law and saying this is what it means because the court has interpreted this. And even this interpretation, what we're supposed to do, honestly, is to look through the case law and see how the case law has developed in this area. And remember, we had this argument with Joe Neiman for the whole New York was Trump a convicted felon. Joe was saying, read it, just read it. I read it. And then we went and found the case, and the case said, no, he's a convicted felon at this point. And then Joe,
well, until you found the case, I agreed with Joe.
Exactly, because it read. That's the way it read. Any rational person would have read it the same way. But the New York Supreme Court said, guess what? I mean, the New York Court of Appeals said.
I was wondering if you were going to correct yourself.
Yeah, New York Court of Supreme Court, the trial court.
Yeah.
The New York Court of Appeals said, well, guess what? No, he is a convicted felon. I don't care what it says there. This is how we interpret it to be read. It fooled us all. So that's just how messed up the law could be. Let's get back to lead. Because I don't want to be here forever, but this is good. I feel bad because I don't want him to think we're bashing him, but it's just funny to hear that.
I'm having fun.
These state legislators are all adults. Probably half of them are attorneys, so they know how to use their words well. And they all
That's a hell of an assumption.
During. What is during mean in this context? It means two events occur.
We got to get Joe in here. Joe, remember, is this right?
He's going with the premise that Congress is a smart Congress. Okay,
Joe,
let's go there.
Yeah, that's kind of crazy. It's bold, Cotton. It's bold.
Occurring simultaneously. The pulling over of the driver and the rain. We got that? We're on the same page? Now you know how to analyze this case legally. Now let's go to the facts of this case. Was it raining? Here we have the driver's car, and we can clearly see water droplets. Now let me.
Okay. So we start when the car is stopped and pulled over. This may have nothing to do with for instance, we could say you can only pull a car over speeding when it's over 90 miles an hour. And then you start here and you stop and you say, is the car speeding? Like, no, it's not speeding. It was speeding 10 minutes ago. Just when we pulled them over. You know what I mean? So at this point in time, it's not raining. But how do I know it didn't just stop raining? How do I know when this guy was driving, it wasn't raining going? And let's talk about the standard of reasonable suspicion here, or even probable cause. Is it reasonable? Is it unreasonable to look at the floor, look at the car, look at all the rain on my car? Is it unreasonable to think that this car wasn't driving in the rain with the lights on? Is it unreasonable? Because that's all you don't need to know for sure. You just need to know if it's reasonable or not.
Yeah.
I think you can make that a reasonable assumption. Now, I want to make it very clear too with these cops, they obviously went too far and beating the guy up. It's insane what they did. But it's just the legal analysis here, I think may have a little issue because at this point in time, he stopped the car. The car stopped. It doesn't look like it's raining now, but that doesn't mean when he was driving the car, it wasn't raining. Does that make sense?
Correct. Because the operative question is the time of the offense, right?
Yes.
Or operating the vehicle to be more precise.
Yes.
Yeah.
When you're operating the vehicle, like right now, if he takes off his seatbelt, he's okay. But again, we'll see.
I ask you, law student, thinking critically, if there are water droplets on a car, does it necessarily mean that it's raining? This is easy for you, even though it's your first day. Obviously, the answer is no.
This reminds me of the example from the Terry stop. If you're a cop and you see a man standing in front of a jewelry store and the window's broken and he's looking inside the jewelry store, is it reasonable to stop him because you think criminality might be at afoot?
I'd say yes.
Right? You didn't see him break the window.
Right.
That's the thing I think is getting TA. Like he doesn't understand that just because you didn't witness it, that you still can get to reasonable suspicion, even though if you didn't witness the actual thing. And most crimes, cops don't witness. They have to build probable cause off of witness statements and other reasonable things that are occurring. Let me see. If the raindrops form at 30,000 feet.
See, that's one of the things I was thinking about earlier. Yeah. Yeah. If it's raining and the wind blows away the rain before it hits the ground, is it still raining?
During the rain. Meteorological definition of the rain is that liquid drops can be 0.5 millimeters or larger, and that more than one raindrop has fallen within.
I love it. We're gonna get into that. We're gonna get into precision about what is rain legally. I love it. I don't know what the legal definition of rain is. That could be fun.
But so do you agree with me? The fact that it's not raining at this moment has nothing to do with the analysis on whether it was raining when he was driving the car.
That much I'm reasonably sure of, yes, because we're wondering about the time of the alleged offense. Was it raining, whatever that might mean, when he was operating the vehicle? That not whether it's now. Yes, I agree with that.
So this person says, let me see. I'm looking at the chat too. No, it wasn't raining, officer. I was just spinning out the window. Whatever.
Maybe you went through a sprinkler system.
Could have. But then why is the floor wet? Why? Because don't forget, it's not just one thing. It's everything. So let's continue to listen to the video.
Maybe it's just dew.
Maybe
water droplets
condensed.
It could be
from the air.
Can be on a car for numerous reasons. Water droplets could be on a car because it rained 15 minutes ago. Water can be on a car because the car got washed. Water can be on the car because the car rolled over a puddle and water splashed on the car. So just because there are water droplets on the car does not mean that it's raining. What I'm going to do is play this video, but I'm going to mute it so we can focus on the water droplets. And what I want you to look at, young student, I want you to see if there are any new droplets that you see forming on the car as the video plays.
I'm kind of surprised because none of this is relevant. Everything he's talking about is irrelevant to was he driving the car at the time he was driving the car? Was his headlights on and was it raining?
Well, I will challenge you slightly, my friend. If we want to be precise, right? In the legal sense of relevance, it would be, does it make a fact in dispute more or less likely? And so if we can infer that this stop is relatively contemporaneous to the time of the offense, then the fact that the car is covered with what appears to be raindrop would be some evidence that suggests it was raining at the time of the offense, and therefore would be relevant to drawing the conclusion it was raining at the time of the offense.
Yes.
Because it is some evidence in support of that proposition.
Yes. Well, I think,
drop.
No, you did. You blew it up. Also, the floor is obviously wet. The cop car itself is probably going to also be wet, and the surrounding area, right? So all those other little theories about driving through a sprinkler and all that stuff, that kind of goes to the cloudy day and, and the fact that everything else is wet. So, but you're right, though. This actually helps the officer's side, that the fact that it either was raining before or what. Now, it doesn't mean the officers are right. Doesn't mean they're telling the truth. But as Kurt has said, it makes their version of events seem more reasonable based on the evidence that we have in front of us.
Now, everybody take a close look. I'm going to play the video. Do you see any new water droplets? If you see new water droplets, then we can assume that that's rain. If we see no new water droplets, then what does that mean? All right, let's play the video. So here is the video. It is playing. Again, I've muted it because we don't need the sound to figure out whether it's raining or not. I'll be honest with you. I'm looking at the glass. I'm looking at the molding. I'm looking at the door. I see no new water droplets.
I will concede that there's no rain happening at this moment for the purpose of this exercise.
But when he was driving just 5 minutes ago.
Yeah, that's whether it's raining now, it's not during, my friend.
Yeah. I don't know. That this makes no sense. It's
Although it would be suggestive that it was raining in the past, so that would be some evidence it was raining 5 minutes ago, I suppose.
Now the reverse could actually work, where the car is bone dry, everything is bone dry, and it's like you're pulling them up. Then that would be suggestive that it's not raining. But here, I think he's stretching it, because at this particular time the car's not even driving. So if we're judging the stop based on a car sitting still, it's like, well, he's not driving, and the lights, I can't see if even the lights are on, and there's no rain. So there's nothing here that would cause a person to be stopped, right? So I don't know.
Mhm.
Do you guys see any new water droplets? I don't see one. We're just letting it play here.
The car stopped. There's nothing to see.
I'm going to say that it's not raining, guys.
Okay. All right. It's not raining.
I'll concede the point.
Could it have rained previously?
Okay.
100%. I do believe that it was raining 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 30 minutes ago. But if I'm honest with you, I saw no new water droplets forming on that.
So all right. So if it's raining 5 minutes ago and he was driving 5 minutes ago and the cops saw him 5 minutes ago driving in the rain.
You're there, baby. You're there.
And then now you stop and it's not raining. He's answered his own question. Don't tell me he's going to say, since it's not raining now when the car stopped and I'm opening up the
Yeah.
I don't think he's going to go there. He's got to, I know he knows this. He's a criminal defense attorney. He's got to know this. If the rain drops, oh yeah, fall within an hour, it meets the for during. Oh,
No, that was the meteorology. I don't know if that's the legal definition. We could go look it up in the case law, assuming there is a case. If there's actually a case in Florida that defines when it's legally raining.
Yeah,
you know,
I'll look it up while we.
You really think there's a case out there that defines when it's legally raining?
Somebody's had to make this argument because he's making this argument.
That's a fair point. It probably has been made before. That's fair.
And Lead is a highly competent attorney, and I'm assuming he's probably made this argument successfully in the past. Maybe that might be the way it's in Georgia, but here the car's pulled over. He would have to have started this video when the car was driving, and then said it's not raining. Like it hasn't been raining. It's not raining. It's not raining. The dash cam. But I think we start in the video at it doesn't prove his point. It's not even close to proving his point.
Student of mine, this is the question for you. All right, you ready? During the time that the body cam video was taken, was it raining? That's your question.
No.
Now I do need to point out that it is technically possible for the officer to have pulled the driver over and then 5, 10, 20 seconds when the officer gets up there, it stops raining. So that it was raining when the officer pulled the driver over, but it's not raining 20 seconds into the video. That is a possibility technically, but just going on the video as we see it, I believe it is not currently raining.
All right, so the law, it's weird because he cites the law, but there's a weird analysis. So the law says if you're driving, right, and it's raining while you're driving, essentially, you have to have your lights on.
Mm-hmm.
The car's not driving.
True.
That's not moving at all. It's stopped. So the only way this stop, you can challenge the stop is saying while the car was in motion driving, the lights were not on or it wasn't raining. But he's not making that argument. It's kind of like this post hoc realization that, hey, because it's not raining now when the car stopped means it wasn't raining when the car was driving, which doesn't, that's flawed logic right there.
Yeah, and I don't believe we have any information about how long it was from the time of the alleged incident to now, though.
Yeah, he's saying he's starting it here, but I don't think the legal analysis that he's using makes sense in this particular context. Let me see. Assuming it's pertinent, would the video rain analysis be sufficient to show a jury, or would it be the meteorological records? It would be. I think you would look for case law. I think the DA would make the argument meteorologically. This is what rain means, safety issue, the spirit of the law. And I think if you're the defense attorney, you'd be in a very, very technical. Less technical. It has to be during, that type of thing. So I think it all depends on which side is arguing. And I think you could have a factual analysis for the jury, right? This would be an issue of fact now for the jury. Was it actually raining when the car was driving? Right? You can make that a factual analysis.
Yeah, sufficiency implies that it solves the issue. Yeah, there's probably not going to be legally it depends for beyond a reasonable doubt. Like for sufficiency for the purposes of our current exercise, yeah, I'm there. But sufficiency for beyond a reasonable doubt, probably not so much. But then you're going to get into just the testimony and things like that. The simplest version of this is the cop getting on the stand and saying, it was raining at the time I saw him and he didn't have his lights on. If the jury believes it, you're there.
Yeah, that's it. And then the defense attorney lead, which is very good, will then say, well, hey, here's the video. It's not raining at all. There's even, and that would be the argument. And the other one say, well, yeah, it was raining right before versus now. So.
What did we say about the law? We said, young law student, that every vehicle operated upon a highway, every driver is required to have their headlights on during any rain, smoke, or fog. So was this driver required to have his headlights on? If the officer pulled the driver over during the rain, then yes. But if the officer pulled the driver over when it was not raining, then no. Now, when you hear all these content creators, these YouTubers talking about this issue, and you don't know who's right, now you know how to think for yourself. Now you know how to legally analyze whether this driver was required to have his headlights on or not. Now, law student of mine, I'm going to give you a quick pop quiz. I am going to have you analyze some of the comments of the regular people, the people who are not in law school like you are. And I want to see if you can identify any issues with how these laymen are thinking about this case. Here's the first comment. It says the ground is wet and there are water particles on his windows. Just because it isn't currently raining doesn't negate the fact that inclement weather was and is still problematic. All right, law student.
He's 100% correct.
Is this, I just had a realization. Is this really where we are as legal educators and legal commentators? This is really what we're doing. We're now having a multi-level legal analysis with reactions to reactions to reactions over whether it was raining or not. Is that the position we're in right now?
That seems like the position.
Is that what's
we're in.
become of us?
He just recently articulated a suspension. I think that's where we're at. I think that's where we're at. Here we go.
Mind. Do you see a problem with this argument? Let's look at this one. TLA, we can see that there is water on the vehicle and that the skies are cloudy. So even if it wasn't raining in the video, it probably was raining before they started rolling. Law student, future lawyer, do you see a problem with this comment? This is why I love the internet. This is why I love YouTube. You guys can learn to critically think in a legal manner, just as we attorneys do. No information, no knowledge is locked behind some gate. No one's gatekeeping now that we have the internet and especially all these chat GPT-4s. Now you guys know something that these regular laymen do not. All right, now let's see what Officer Tatum has to say about this. Let's see if we can spot any issues to his thinking, to his rationale, or is Lackluster wrong? Let's take a look.
You're gonna hear.
Does hail qualify as rain?
I think hail does count. It's precipitation. I think they've rain is precipitation, so snow would even also count. Snow, hail, any form of precipitation. And during generally means the entire time the condition is present. So it's saying here it doesn't actually have to be physically raining, but the condition of rain. So in other words,
does raining locusts count like we're in Egypt?
Maybe not. But I would say this. It gives the example of the eye of a hurricane. In the eye of a hurricane, it may not be raining.
But, yes, it's true. Yeah.
But eventually the rain will come back. So
if the cop is pulling you over in the eye of a hurricane, we have bigger things to discuss.
Yeah. So it says, and the lights must remain on as soon as the rain begins and remain on continuously until it stops. So, but I think the argument's correct though. If it wasn't raining at the time he was driving, when the officer observed him, the officer had to notice two conditions while he was driving, not while he was pulled over. Number one, it was raining, and number two, his lights were off. If he observed those two conditions while, again, it could be 5 minutes ago, it could be 2 minutes ago. It's not when it stopped, but before he pulled them over. So let's see. Let's continue on.
Hear this guy talk about it. You see people say it online. It's the most asinine and ridiculous claim. It's because they hate police and they always want the police to be wrong. So they will make up anything. It wasn't raining. Look at this video. This is fresh rain droplets still hanging onto his vehicle. If somehow it wasn't inclement weather, which means it wasn't raining at all, you wouldn't still see rain droplets on his car.
Let's stop it right there. Officer Tatum says if it wasn't inclement weather, you wouldn't see rain droplets still on his car. Now, guys, I got a question for you, and I'm going to see who are the A students and who are the B students. All right. There are two problems with what Brandon Tatum just said. He said that if it wasn't inclement weather, you still wouldn't see the rain droplets on the car. Can you identify the two problems with this statement? I'll give you 5 seconds. All right. And while you're considering it, it's very hard to get an A in law school, okay? All right, time's up. If you got this answer, then at least you have a B. What's the problem with what he said? Let's go back and take a look.
Look at this video. This is fresh rain droplets still hanging onto his vehicle. If somehow it wasn't inclement weather, which means it wasn't raining at all, you wouldn't still see rain droplets on his car.
He said,
all right, so, well, I'll let you go first, because I'll tell you, I was going to explain before he got into his analysis. I'll tell you my analysis of this. My analysis is this is more evidence of the reasonableness of the officer's stop. The officer stopped saying, hey, you were driving, it was raining, and your lights were off. They pulled him over. The rain has now stopped. And guess what? There's still rain on his car, aligning with what the officer just previously said. You're driving in the rain. Also, the rain is not only on their car, but it's also on the cop car. It's also on the floor. Everything is wet. That now, since we don't need absolute proof, because remember that's the the law doesn't say we need the absolute proof that this happened. We just have to be reasonable and have come to reasonable conclusions based on the evidence that it can't be a hunch. It has to be reasonable. And based on that, I believe it's reasonable for the cops, with the evidence we have now, that the cops have actually made the stop because the person had their headlights off in the rain, if that's what the cop is testifying to. Go ahead, Kurt.
No, I mean, again, it's come down to this reasonableness standard, which is really low in terms of reasonableness. Like probable cause, I've said is something like 10 to 20%.
Yeah, it's really low.
I don't know what reasonableness is, but it's
lower than that.
Somewhere close to dirt. It does take a lot. So, I mean, there are raindrops. There's a lot of inferential data here that's suggesting that the cop could have very reasonably observed him not having headlights on while it was raining.
Yes. And I think the evidence that we have now, where the car is stopped and they're approaching the driver, essentially means nothing. It means nothing to the fact of when the cop did observe him. It's almost like saying, I didn't observe him robbing the bank, but I saw him running away with all the money in his hand, with a gun in his hand. It's like, yeah, I didn't see him rob the bank, but I could reasonably believe that this guy might have robbed the bank. You know what I mean?
Yep.
It's reasonable reasonable articulable suspicion. Well, it's more than a hunch. The cop doesn't have a hunch that the guy, he essentially is saying.
It's right in the name. Just listen to the name. It'll tell you the answer. You need to have something that's reasonable that you can articulate. So you have to be able to say something that makes sense. That's reasonably articulable suspicion. I have a reason that I can tell you about. I'm suspicious. You're there. It's like, it's just on the label.
Yeah,
it's fine.
That if it wasn't inclement weather, you wouldn't see raindrops on the car. What is the B answer? The B answer is, Officer Tatum, respectfully, you can see raindrops on a car when it's not raining. The rain could have stopped 5 minutes ago. It could have stopped 15 minutes ago. It could have stopped 30 minutes.
I would have asked Lead if I was on this, if I was there. I would say, well, could it have been raining 30 seconds ago and just stopped? Could it have been raining when he was driving the car and the cops saw him with the lights off? Could it have been raining then? Yeah, I think it could have. And I think the cop would say it was raining maybe 2 minutes ago. That's when we saw him and we pulled him over now and go, lo and behold, it stopped raining. And how do you know it was raining? Because everything is wet. That's the analysis.
It's the classic example of circumstantial evidence.
Yeah.
Right. It's wet outside is circumstantial evidence for it was raining. It's a classic example.
Drops on a car does not mean that it's raining. If you got that answer, then I will give you a B. All right. That's the layup answer. But do you see a second problem with what he said? And let me just replay it because it's hard to catch.
If somehow it wasn't inclement weather, which means it wasn't raining at all, you wouldn't still see rain droplets on his car.
Did you catch it? Guys, I will tell you
inclement
that
is the same thing as
you
rain.
are an attorney. You have to pay such close attention to
That's
every
what I think is
single
gonna
word.
flag.
What did Officer Tatum say? He said if
He said
it wasn't
inclement.
inclement weather.
Yeah.
What's the
Yeah.
problem with that? The
It's not a
problem
statute.
is inclement weather isn't a thing. It's nowhere in the statute.
That's
Guys,
right. He's
here is the
He's right.
complete
I get
statute
an
that
A.
governs
Yay.
when your lights must be on, your headlights. Again, we see here during any rain, smoke, or fog. Do you see anything about inclement weather? As a lawyer, you have to pay attention to when people try to introduce new words, new meanings into an argument. Nowhere in here does it talk about inclement weather. In fact, if I go up here and just do a control F, let's see. I am going to put the word inclement. I don't know if you can see this or not, guys, but I put the word inclement in here and it comes up 0/0. Nowhere in here does it talk about inclement weather. So when Officer Tatum says, hey, it's inclement weather, and you have to know as a law student that he's introducing new words that are not in the statute. The only thing we lawyers are concerned about is during any rain, smoke, or fog. That's it. I don't want to hear about inclement weather. I don't want to hear about.
To be honest with you, I don't want to hear about what happened after the car was stopped. I want to know when the car was driving and if it was raining and were his lights on. Now, this whole analysis has to deal with what happened after the car stopped. But it could have been raining just 30 seconds ago. He just failed. It's like he says it, but it doesn't get any anything. It doesn't get anything. This one says Nate is wrong about this reasonable suspicion thing. Traffic stop require probable cause, not just suspicion.
No, it doesn't.
No. Well, again, listen. Here is reasonable suspicion. Reasonable suspicions from Terry, Ohio. For reasonable suspicion, you need officers must be able to point to specific and articulable facts, taken together with rational inferences like the cars are all wet and all that stuff, right? That criminal activity may be at afoot, hunches, and unparticularized suspicions are not enough. Would a reasonable and an objective standard, would a reasonable officer under the same circumstances believe the suspect was involved in wrongdoing? So in this case, it's not about absolute proof, which I think that's what Lead is talking about. It's about being reasonable suspicion. And then I'll even go with this person to say, let's use probable cause. Well, even under that standard, I still think you have it because you don't need to have absolute proof. You just, it just needs to be to the point where you're saying, is it reasonable for you to come to the conclusion that this occurred? And I'm saying, based on everything Lead has been showing us now, the cop could 100% be in the right because it's not about what happened. He's looking at it after it's all calmed down. He doesn't know what happened when the guy was actually driving the car because the law is about when you're driving the car, if it's raining, lights on. If it's not, you don't have to have lights on. We don't know what he was doing with the job, except for what the officer said and obviously the situation here.
Low visibility. I don't want to hear about wet roads. The Florida legislature said during any rain, smoke, or fog. So pay attention to that. Did you get it? Did you get the inclement weather injection? If you got that, then you got an A on that pop quiz. And I really am impressed. If you got the B, then that's fine. But if you got an A, give yourself a pat on the back. Hold up. Let's pause for a second for a quick word from our sponsor, Chapter Medicare.
Uh-oh.
If you
He's got the sponsor, Chapter Medicare. All right. So now he's about to go back and check out the sponsor.
give yourself peace of mind today. All right, let's keep going.
Here we go.
If somehow it wasn't inclement weather, which means it wasn't raining at all, you wouldn't still see rain droplets on his car. Inclement weather doesn't mean that it's only inclement at the instant that it's raining. And then if it stopped raining for 30 minutes or 30 seconds, then all of a sudden it's not inclement anymore.
Tatum is totally wrong there. How do you feel about that one? I think Tatum is wrong at that one.
Well, I'll give Tatum. I'll give him a more favorable reading. How about that?
Okay.
It's possible that whatever jurisdiction he's more familiar with uses the term inclement, and he just didn't read the statute in Florida. He's just, because I've made this mistake before. I make a mistake in legal analysis where I assume that there's like some sort of default rule, and then when you read like something specific, it's like, oh no, not here. So maybe he's used to that. So that's the charitable interpretation, as opposed to he's a moron. Or, when it was explained to him when he was an officer, he was told inclement, even though that's not the precise wording of the statute, because they just use it as shorthand. So
this Jimmy's saying, interesting. Jimmy's saying not raining on windshield on patrol car before the stop. Okay. It's still, and this is the hardest part to convey to people. When a police car is parked and cars are going by, it sees a car. It's raining allegedly it's raining at that time. He sees a car. It doesn't have its headlights on. Turn on the car. You go. Let's go get him. Turn the car around, and now you're following behind the car. Right?
Yeah.
Rain stops.
Yeah.
You pull the guy over. Hey, you didn't have your lights on when it's raining. And TLA would be saying, it's not raining at the moment. Do you see the new raindrops? It's not raining at the moment. I'm like, yeah, it's not raining now. It was raining when you were driving back on Main Road. That's when it was raining. Now it's not raining now. And how do we know it was just raining? Because your car's all wet. My car's all wet. The floor's all wet. It was just raining. Doesn't have to be raining now. It was raining when you were driving. That's essentially what this argument is. And Tatum is doing it in reverse. Tatum is saying, well, hey, all the evidence of it raining proves that it was raining before. And Lee is saying it's not raining now, so that means it must have not been raining before. They both are doing the analysis the wrong way, in the wrong direction.
You see a problem with Officer Tatum's thinking about this statute. He says that if the rain stops 30 seconds or 30 minutes from when the officer pulls over the driver, then that doesn't mean that it's not inclement anymore. You, my little law student, do you see problems with this legal analysis? Hopefully you're all A students now, and you're asking, where in the heck did inclement even come from? It's not in the state statute. It's not in the law. And we already discussed what happens if the rain stops 30 seconds before the driver's pulled over, or certainly 30 minutes before the driver's.
This is where, and I hate to say it, this is where he's wrong. This is where I would actually have to give him, he's not getting the A. And the reason why he wouldn't be getting an A is because it has nothing to do when he's pulled over. It has to do when the officer observed the activity. The officer has to observe the activity, driving in the rain without the lights. And then when the officer starts to pull him over, the rain could stop, but the actual pulling over the car is still legit. It's like pulling over somebody from speeding. The officer sees you speeding, and then all of a sudden, when you take off and start trying to follow that car, the car's not speeding anymore, right? Because he sees the cops. And now you say, oh, well, yeah, at the time I pulled you over, you weren't speeding. Yeah, you were speeding before. That's why I'm pulling you over. You were speeding on the highway before. Not when you saw me and I pulled you over. It was before. So yeah. So that's where I think he's missing. What do you think?
Yeah. I'm still trying to figure out whether or not we were right on the probable cause thing or not. Cause I'm like, I had a second thought. I'm like, wait a second, did we make a mistake? So I've been searching in the background, trying to figure out whether or not we made a mistake when we said it was RAS for a traffic stop. I think we might've made a mistake. So
well, I know. Well, from my, well, to be honest with you, I've never had this question, because every time we've done it, because all right, so in New York, you have to see the traffic violation. I can't pull you over because I think you did something. I have to see the traffic violation. So for instance, like say if you run through a red light, I have to see the red light and the car run through the thing. So for us, it was always probable cause. But I know in some places they do it because they say it's a Terry stop, so they say it's reasonable suspicion. But for us, it's always been probable cause. So if it's reasonable suspicion, but I've always thought it was reasonable suspicion, but they always force us to do the higher standard of probable cause, because we had to see you without the seatbelt. We couldn't, there was no assumption. We had to see it. We had to do it. So that's what it made it. So for us, it was always probable cause, but it wasn't a seizure. A traffic stop isn't a seizure. It's a detainment. So it was
right.
essentially a detainment. I'm not seizing you and stopping. I'm just a stop. It's a temporary detainment. And to make it, and it's case law where they say, like, you stop somebody and then the cops arrest them, and then you'll say, well, that you had no probable cause for that arrest. Oh, matter of fact, the recent case, remember the case of the kid who was stopped by police for suspicion of DWI. They pulled him out and they gave him all the field sobriety tests. He passed, and they still arrested him. And then when he went to court, the judges said, well, the arrest didn't have probable cause. You did have probable cause for an arrest, but you were the stop was.
But that's an investigatory stop, not a
Yes.
stop for a specific crime, which might be different. That's why I was trying to figure it out, because if it's an investigatory stop, you only need RAS, but if it's a stop for an infraction, you might actually need probable cause. So that's why I was trying to double
Oh,
check.
it may be. Well, check it out. Check it out. Let me know.
I'm working on it in the
But
background
I know for
because when we said no, it isn't. I'm like, wait a second, I need to double check that because I think I might have made a mistake.
we could have made a mistake, but I know for us it was always probable cause, even with it. But I remember they said not all jurisdictions adhere to that because they treat it as a stop. But check it out.
Pulled over.
Yeah, this
That's
might be
crazy.
this might be
If
a
the
Florida
rain
specific
stops
thing.
30 minutes before the officer pulls over the driver, then the officer did not pull over the driver during the rain. It's not during the rain if the rain stopped half an hour ago. I love that you guys are going to be able to analyze these facts. Rain stopped half an hour ago. I love that you guys are during the rain. It's not during the rain if the rain stopped half an hour ago. I love that you guys are going to be able to analyze these facts legally, just like an attorney would. Let's go.
It's not just the rain. It's rain in rainy conditions.
Oh, are you catching it? Are you catching it? He said it's not just the rain, it's rain or rainy conditions.
I'd love to know what a rainy condition is without rain.
Yeah, it's not rain.
What is a rainy condition without rain?
He's about to get him now, but he's right.
Okay.
He's right. The rainy conditions.
Isn't rain the rainy condition? Is there another condition that would be rainy condition? What is that?
TLA is right with this one though. He's about to. I assume he's about to get into them. Yeah, it has to be raining. It's like he's right about that. There's rainy conditions. I think he's just. I think Tatum has just gone overboard with that one.
Statute here again is the statute, and it says every vehicle operated in Florida on a highway must have its headlights on during any rain, smoke, or fog. Do you see anything about raining conditions, which is what Officer Tatum just said? Do you see anything about inclement weather? Do you see any grace period of 30 seconds or 30 minutes? You do not. You just see during any rain, smoke, or fog. All right, let's get back to our brother Officer Tatum, and hopefully you guys are analyzing this correctly. Hopefully you're getting A's on these quizzes.
The hazardous lights and putting your lights on is for the conditions that's associated with rain. When it rains, visibility is lower. There's rain on the streets. People need to have better visibility when driving. That's what the spirit of the law says. That's
that's what the spirit of the law says. I will tell you. And again, none of this is taking shots at Officer Tatum. Excellent content creator. I'm sure he was an excellent officer. I am just looking at this from the lawyer's point of view because, again, this is a legal case. We are talking about state statutes. I will tell you as a lawyer that when anybody says the spirit of the law, then you know you got them. When somebody has to retreat to the word spirit, it means that the arguments that they're making are not in the statutes textually. When you are in court, when you're in trial, and you hear opposing counsel say, oh, well, that's the spirit of the law. That's what the legislature surely meant. I'm sure that if the legislatures had more time, then they would have said, they would have clarified, they would have put in writing. Whenever you hear someone say it's the spirit of the law, you know you got them.
The hazardous lights and putting your lights on is for the conditions that's associated with rain. When it rains, visibility is lower. There's rain on the streets. People need to have better visibility when driving. That's what the spirit of the law says. That's
the spirit of the law. Let's go.
That's why no one contested that he was pulled over rightfully. You would not have rain droplets on your car if it had not been raining. The ground is wet. It is raining, ladies and gentlemen. Maybe it stopped raining for a small period of time.
Oh, that sounds like an admission to me. It sounds like Officer Tatum really knows what's going on. Sometimes as attorneys, guys, we never know if people are pulling our legs or not. As lawyers, we don't assume that you know the law. So it could be that Officer Tatum just doesn't know.
Well, two things. I'm going to stop it here because yes, it is reasonable suspicion for a traffic stop. Here's a Supreme Court case. I was about to say, yeah, I remember. It's a unanimous case, by the way, too. And yes, officers can make stops of vehicles. That it's unreasonable to search and seizure of vehicles.
Yeah, I was wondering if it was a Florida specific thing.
Yeah, the officer had reasonable cause to stop the petitioner's vehicle for a traffic violation. You don't need probable cause. You need reasonable suspicion. So it's the lowest. So it's the lowest. So this is all. He's totally. That means TLA is just totally wrong. if it's probable cause, he would have an argument. But reasonable suspicion means his argument is totally like debunked. That's it. It's like if you see reasonable suspicion, then everything he's saying is actually wrong because the standard is so low. I know, again, like I said, in New York, you had to see it, but I'm not assuming all jurisdictions are like.
And Florida isn't like my memory of Florida when I've been there, or at least it's an Orlando thing, is that whether it's raining or not can vary very rapidly from moment to moment.
Yeah.
It's a quantum state of rain in some parts of Florida. It's raining or not raining at any given moment.
Yeah, well, none of you take it. Well, we're not. Well, we just titled the video because we're doing the inception of the other videos. So I'll change the title because I don't want to think I'm actually for. Because actually, I'm agreeing with Tatum. I think Tatum is right, and his conclusion is right over TLAs, which is kind of crazy. And the title of this video doesn't make that clear. But I think Tatum is right and TLA is wrong in this particular instance, which I actually went into this thinking it'd be the opposite. But Tatum is right. Tatum is wrong about the use of force. He's totally wrong about that. He's pretty much getting into bootlicking when he talks about that. But about this part of the traffic stop, Tatum's reasoning, some of his reasoning is off. But I think at the end of the day, Tatum is correct and TLA is wrong.
But when he says, "Oh, well, it could be the rain stopped for a moment in time," that kind of gives me the impression that he knows what the statute says. If the rain stopped for a brief period of time, then what does that mean? It means that the traffic stop did not start during the rain.
What?
No, it doesn't mean that. It depends when it stopped for a brief moment of time.
Yeah,
that's when a question. When did this brief stoppage occur? If the brief stoppage was at the time the police did the stop, then yeah. If not, then not. Yeah.
He's driving. It's raining. The lights are off. Police, stop him. Pull him over.
This has become one of the more surreal. This has become one of the more surreal legal discussions I have had at this point. This entire discussion is very surreal.
You guys must be you're somehow listening to a lawyer who and still disagree with him, and you're using the law cases not in Florida. Well, no, we use the Supreme Court.
I don't think he's a lawyer in Florida. He's in Atlanta. He's Georgia, right?
Yeah, he's Georgia. He's a Georgia attorney.
Yeah, so he's equally qualified to us. We're all equally qualified. All three of us are equally qualified at this point.
He's a and then we put it to a Supreme Court case which said for a traffic stop. So yeah. So yeah, you're right. Listen to a lawyer. Yeah, he's from Georgia. He's not from Florida. But he's making the analysis too. So just so we can recap this and be very, very clear what TLA is saying. TLA is saying because it wasn't raining at the time the officers got to the car during a traffic stop, that essentially means it wasn't the traffic stop was wrong. And the retort to that is the officers, when they saw the car driving down the road, was the lights off and was it raining? And I'm saying, based on all the evidence we see, yes, that is more likely the case. And the standard that the officer would have to show is reasonable suspicion. That's all they'd have to show.
I've already changed my mind once about this case. This is literally the joke at this point. We got ask 3 lawyers a question, get 5 opinions. We are well on our path there. Yeah, we disagree with each other and ourselves. Welcome to law. It's great.
Focal point of this whole issue is the word during. What did our man say again?
It's raining, ladies and gentlemen. Maybe it stopped raining for a small period of time. That does not preclude the justification of having your lights on during inclement weather.
Tatum is wrong there. When they saw him, it has to be raining. If it wasn't raining when they saw him driving, then this is a bad stop. So Tatum is wrong there. But the lead is equally wrong by saying just because it's not raining now doesn't mean it wasn't raining when he was driving.
I swear, if this case turns on whether it was actually raining or not at the time, if that's what turns this case. Lord, I mean, stranger things have happened. To be fair.
Yeah. Well, let's finish this
Law
up.
professor, not going to beat a dead horse, but I'm going to replay that last sentence one more time, and I want you to analyze it.
It is raining, ladies and gentlemen. Maybe it stopped raining for a small period of time. That does not preclude the justification of having your lights on during inclement weather.
Inclement weather. All right. If you're my law student, hopefully you see the issue with that. Shout out to Officer.
All right, so that's the end of the video. I think the problem is that also Officer Tatum is wrong in terms of even if it stopped raining, you could have your lights on and off and all. No, he's wrong. It's got to happen during the raining. And TLA is wrong because it could have been raining when they observed him driving and then pulled him over later and it stopped raining. So both of them are horribly wrong in that sense. But at the end of the day, Tatum is right because I think the stop is justified. I think Tatum is right for the wrong reasons. And I think, unfortunately, TLA is wrong for the wrong reasons. What's your take? What do you think?
Who can explain the rain?
That's it. So who which argument do you?
Isn't that a song by Kansas? Was that Kansas? I want to know. I want to know if you've ever seen the rain. That's the line from the song.
No, but so I'm asking you, what do you think?
I think the operative question is whether it was raining at the time that the police observed him driving. That's the operative question. And the fact that it's not raining now doesn't answer that question, although the raindrops on the car is suggestive that it was, because we can assume the raindrops being in the condition they are should be relatively contemporaneous to the observation. So I would say it is evidence pointing in favor of the police. That's as good as I can get right now.
Well,
that's where I'm at.
Tatum is, I have Tatum's up here too. So I went to Tatum's video because he now is talking about reasonable suspicion. So here's Tatum. I'm pulling up Tatum. So here's Tatum's video. Tatum is talking about, that, what's this, because he's got chapters here. Knife in the car, use of force, and legal precedent. So also he's responding to all this. How long is this? This 35-minute video. He's talking about all this. So they just talked about the inclement weather. Let's talk about knife in the car. So let's talk about the use of force, because it seems like that's the big issue, right? The officers. Now, what do you think about the use of force with the officers?
Well, I made a mistake initially because I didn't spot the police officers punching him multiple times on the ground when I first did the video. So I was like, okay, I don't see the problem. And then they punched him multiple times on the ground. I'm like, oh, that was the punching. Oh, I missed that somehow I missed the police officers punching him multiple times on the ground. That was a great moment when I went back and watched the video. I was like, oh, that's what people were talking about. Yeah, so the force seems excessive. Now, whether it's excessive enough or not to do anything about it is a whole other set of problems. The excessiveness won't really do anything about the charges under themselves, because it's kind of irrelevant to the reason they pulled him over. And it's also irrelevant to the ordering out of the car, which gave justification to pull him out of the car. So I don't really see how the excess force in this situation would deal with the criminal case. So you're sort of left with suing for excessive force in like a 1983 sense. And it's probably not so grossly excessive that it would be a problem under relevant law, because you're usually looking for something more specific. So is the police probably, well, although to be honest, it's more of a PR problem than a legal problem, I think, in the end. Although I could be wrong about that, but I think it's more of a PR problem. So they might, do something about it for those reasons rather than strict legal necessity.
Well,
I don't really see how punching them on the ground changes the criminal charges against the defendant. I don't see how it changes that. Do you?
No, I don't think it does, but I do think you do have a 1983 issue in terms of Graham v. Connor, because the force was because then you have to talk about what type of force was he applied. The problem with 1983 is, as always, not only do you have to find the constitutional violation, but it has to be clearly established. And unfortunately, as you probably know, and many of the people watching on my channel quite know from a number of 1983 cases we've covered, when it says clearly established, you usually have to find a very specific case analog. Like, you can't just cite Graham v. Connor. Unfortunately, I wish you could. I wish you made it so, but it's not. Usually you have to find something really insanely close. It's maddeningly hard to make 1983 claims sometimes. Oh yeah.
It can turn on really stupid minutia sometimes. So I appreciate your citation to Graham v. Connor. You're probably right under Graham v. Connor, but the court almost certainly will say Graham v. Connor ain't good enough. What else you got for us?
Well, Graham v. Connor. Well, Graham won in Graham v. Connor for the unreasonable.
He did win in Graham v. Connor. That's true.
Graham v. Connor. Graham lost in Graham v. Connor.
Well, I forget who was who, but I
Yeah,
understand your
well,
point.
the civilian lost because they said the cops were reasonable. They broke his arm and everything, but they said the cops were reasonable. For those of you who don't know, Graham v. Conner shit.
That's right. That is fair. That is true. They did. The civilian did lose under Graham v. Conner, right? Yes, fair enough.
So for the audience to know what Graham v. Conner, a black guy, diabetic. He's having a diabetic episode, so he needs sugar. He has his friend jump in a car and they drive to a gas station, and he just needs to go get some orange juice. So the diabetic jumps out the car and runs into the thing, grabs a bottle of orange juice, but the line is too long. So there's a cop sitting outside the gas station. They see these black guys jump out the car, run into the gas station, run around the store, then kick the door open, run out, jump into their car, and drive off. What do you think just happened? Robbery, right? You think
Could be.
It's reasonable to believe a crime could have been committed. So the cop jumps in, he goes and pulls them over. So when he pulls the guy over, the guy then, it's like, yo, I gotta go. It comes like a little police chase. So the cop there eventually get him over. He gets out the car. The guy goes into like a diabetic.
He didn't get his orange juice.
Yeah, he didn't get his orange juice. He's going to shock. The cops think he's fighting the cops, so it gets horrible. The cops beat him up. Eventually, they find out what happened. The cops apologize, drive him home, like broke his arm or something, and then he's sued. And the Supreme Court then set out the rules of what it means to be a reasonable officer. Nature of the call, whether other officers are involved, like the Graham v. Conner laid it out. But in that particular case, the interesting part about that case, it established what reasonable force was for 1983 claims. So that's what we talk. So in Graham v. Conner, the person actually lost because they said the cops were being reasonable because you see somebody just run and jump into what's it called? You go see somebody run in that situation. What they saw would lead a reasonable officer to think that a crime had been committed. So that's why. But now let's get back to Tatum and let's see what he's saying here.
Circumstances, and these circumstances don't necessitate police officers to follow every traffic law. Roll the clip.
It wasn't unlawful to do so.
It's on
But let's
screen.
pretend that it was. And by refusing to identify here,
We can't hear
McNeil
it.
was
Yes, I can
breaking
hear
the
you.
law.
Yes, sir. Is there a reason why you're popping the door open like that? I don't have a window that works. Is there a reason that you're pulling me over? Yeah, absolutely. There's a reason why I'm pulling you over. For one thing, inclement weather, you don't have your lights on. Two things, you're not wearing your seatbelt. It's daylight. I don't need the lights. It's not raining.
It's daylight. I don't need the lights, and it's not raining. That's not. He's wrong.
No, it's that. Doesn't
Right?
that matter?
While he was.
This is inclement. Not raining. Okay, I'm not arguing with you. I'm telling you why I'm pulling you over. Give me your driver's license, registration, proof of insurance.
No, call your supervisor.
All right. So now no, I'm not giving you my license. I'm gonna give you registration. This is when things go off the rail, right?
Yeah.
You've been pulled over. You've been told two reasons why I'm pulling you over. He said no lights on in the rain and no seatbelt. So we have two. Both of those are legitimate. You only need reasonable suspicion. He's not wearing a seatbelt, so it's legitimate. And now we know why he didn't roll down the window, because the window doesn't work. So those are two reasons. So the stop. So now ask you, do you think the stop is legitimate? Because the stop is not legitimate. You got to get paid. Talk to me, Kurt. Do you think the stop
Under
is
whether
legitimate?
it's rainy or not?
No, what do you think the stop, based on what you just saw right now, is the stop legitimate?
I don't have enough information. I mean,
Okay, cool.
There's not enough information. It's not necessarily clear he's wearing a seatbelt here. I mean, I can't tell. He is wearing a seatbelt later in the video when he's pulled out of the car, but it's not clear that he didn't close the car and then put a seatbelt on. So I'm not sure whether he's wearing a seatbelt now.
Well, I'm not saying as an issue, matter of fact, just as a matter of law. If the cop is articulating no seatbelt, lights not off, would that precipitate under the reasonable suspicion standard? Would that, because again, you don't have to actually see it, but you have to be able to articulate it. I would say the stop.
Yeah, I
would
mean,
be legitimate
I
based on
think it's very likely on balance that this is a legitimate stop.
Yeah, that's all I'm asking.
Yeah, I think on balance, it's very likely this is a legitimate stop in terms of there's a legally sufficient reason to conduct the stop. That is my dominant conclusion.
Why? Excuse me? Call your supervisor.
And I still don't know where people got the supervisor memo. To this day, I don't know where people got the memo that they're entitled to a supervisor if they ask one. Where is this memo? I haven't seen this memo.
I've already told you. Why did you pull me over? Step out of the vehicle. No, step out of the vehicle.
So now the driver is wrong.
He is absolutely wrong. He's 100% wrong. He's 100% wrong.
And now the officer can use force because now we're in officer safety world. Soon as he starts closing the door with tinted windows, we're in officer safety world. So now we're talking about, okay, now we got to use some force.
Mims. I have no problem with Mims. Let's go to Mims. We're going to order him out of the car. He refuses to do so. Now we can use force to enact the order so we can drag his ass out of the car. And that's what's going to happen. So, and they gave him 8,000 warnings.
8,000 mornings?
I mean, I'm exaggerating. They gave him a lot of warnings before they hauled him out of the car.
Anthony, I don't see you on the super chat. I'm sorry.
It happens. It happens sometimes. Sometimes we miss things. It's not personal.
I see it right now. There it is. The statute specifically says upon a highway.
Yeah.
What is still
apparently Florida defines all roads as highways apparently all roads are highways in Florida. Because I checked. I saw that too. I'm like, I was curious how they define highway. I mean, apparently it means road.
And qualified immunity had the two-part test in 2011. Qualified immunity is it clearly established? At least that's how the courts. Yeah, that's true. That's a good point. They haven't used the two. This is a very good point. And that's a lot of legal scholars.
That's a constitutional violation as clearly established.
So, yes, but generally they never get to the second part, whether it's a constitutional violation, because most of the time they never get past the first step, which is clearly established. Because there was a case that said you had to go through that one first before you get to the constitutional violation.
Is there a test that says that you have to go through that first?
I think there was one of them.
They always do, but I don't know that you have to.
There is a case that says you have to establish one element first, and then before you move on to the second element. So,
okay.
But again, I'll find it because I remember I looked up. I was like, I was wondering why this always happened. None of these cops had their headlights on either. Can this be a disputed in court? No.
Just because someone else is breaking the law doesn't mean that he wasn't. It doesn't work legally.
But that's a good point. That's a good catch.
Although it is evidence that it wasn't raining, so you got that going for you.
Had he followed procedures and argued with this dismissal court, none of this would have happened. Yeah, he chose to escalate it. Had fair warning. Yeah. That's what it's looking like now.
Specifically, this would be resisting, obstructing, and delay in Florida, as they do not have a refusal to ID law. Next, Tatum thinks that the officers used a proportionate amount of force for the situation.
You're required to ID when you're driving a car. That's dumb. Yeah, whether or not you're generally required to present ID is neither here nor there. It's a driver's license.
Yes. So just
when you're driving, you're required to present it fast. That's dumb.
Yes. So when you're driving, the cops say, let me pull over the car and let me give you a license. You are required, because you're operating a motor vehicle, to not only identify yourself and follow lawful orders in compliance. And he didn't do that. So the driver in that case is in the wrong. Everything up to right now, the driver is obviously.
The law requires that a person.
I do appreciate the chat is on fire. I appreciate the chat is on fire arguing themselves over these issues. This is interesting.
Officer's commands during a traffic stop.
To understand why, let's look at the law that Tatum fails to explain in his obvious GPT article.
Okay.
Reasonable force is determined by two cases: Graham v. Connor and Tennessee v. Garner.
Now, the funny part about it is Tennessee v. Gardner came first, and Tennessee v. Gardner is the case where you can't shoot fleeing fellas in the back.
Right.
Gardner was. It's funny because Gardner was in Tennessee v. Gardner. Gardner was he's a burglar, and he was robbing a house, and he got the stuff, and he's jumping over the fence, and the cops, they thought he was going to get away. So the law in Tennessee was a black cop. It was a black cop, matter of fact. You could shoot fleeing felons in the back. And Tennessee v. Gardner said, no. You can't just execute felons because they're running unless they are a serious threat to someone else in the community. They may have a gun and shooting people or something like that. You can't just wholesale. And then we talked about Graham v. Connor before, which took that element of harm from Tennessee v. Gardner and put it into a formalized test, saying that there'll be three factors when to determine what type of force an officer can use: the nature of the call. One was the nature of the call, whether the suspect was resisting arrest, and the third was whether the person was a serious threat to people. And that's how you determine force. And those were not all the factors, but those were just the few factors that the court pointed to and said it could be other factors. For instance, if you have 10 suspects and one cop, then that would be that you can use your gun or more force to protect yourself.
Together, they've created use of force guidelines for law enforcement.
Okay.
First, the court must judge the officers based on the Fourth Amendment's objective reasonableness test. This requires officers to base their use of force on the totality of the facts and circumstances. Here, the entire case for the deputies fails immediately due to the insufficient probable cause.
Hold on. The state attorney's office deemed that they followed the law. And there was nothing criminal in their use of force. Where is this guy getting his theology from?
That doesn't matter. Just because I've seen so many cases where the state said, "Hey, this is reasonable force," and then guess what? The person loses in court. So that doesn't matter. Just because it helps the cops, but it's not. It's not determinative. A lot of times the cops, you'll lose in a lawsuit. Like it happens a lot in New York where the cops will lose in a lawsuit, but win and keep their job.
Echo Charlie Whiskey.
Matter of fact, that happened with Chauvin. That happened with Chauvin before George Floyd. There was a case where Chauvin actually choked the kid, and it was found liable, and they had to pay that kid's family. And then on the back end, he kept his job and then was able to do what he did to Floyd.
On a silver Kia. I don't know how this.
But if the vehicle extraction was lawful, the amount of force used must take into consideration the severity of the crime.
No. And this said, extracting someone from the vehicle, he's locked the door. He's not told. Now, extracting from the car, did they give him warnings? You saw this video. Did they give him warnings to get out the car?
Oh, yeah, multiple, lots. A whole bunch.
And he didn't get out the car.
Yeah, very multiple times.
So how else would you get him out the car unless you break the window? Now, I would say this: breaking the window by his face, breaking a back.
Well, that's where the window is.
Yeah, I thought it's not. It's only I thought it was a 4-door sedan. It's only 2 doors.
Oh, well, I mean, fair enough. I mean, I guess they could have broken another window, but there's nothing wrong with breaking this window. So
no, there's nothing wrong. But I would say, just I'm trying to give it the benefit, trying to be bending over backwards to give him the benefit of the doubt. But now, you can't just sit in your car because again, you could have something in that car. This is really about officer safety at this point in time.
Whether the suspect.
That was unnecessary. That punch.
It's not 100. Can I see it again? Is that possible?
Force used must take into consideration the severity of the crime.
Now he's sitting there looking at a camera.
Yeah.
Whether the.
Yeah, that one's not great. No.
Not great. That I think is excessive. Now you put your hand in, open the door, and pull him out the car.
That's fair. I mean, that's not fair. That's not an unfair conclusion. My original analysis was I can't be bothered to care, but having seen it again, I understand that the problem a little bit better than I did the first time. So, fair enough.
Suspect poses an immediate threat, and whether they were actively resisting.
Hands are up now. There's absolutely no threat. Nothing in his hands. There should be no punching. No nothing at this point in time. His hands are up. He's looking out. There should be no punching. No. The force used to get him out the car, but he should not be getting beat up.
Or attempting to flee. By now, you may have heard that McNeil had a knife, but who the fuck doesn't? It was never.
That's fair.
Yeah, but that's the knife in the car. Also, again, officer safety. So yeah,
never in his hand, and upon review of the video, he never even reached for it.
That isn't possible. It's all in the reach vicinity. But I agree though. The officers are being excessive here, and having the knife doesn't help. But Tatum's now going to tell us about it.
He has a big serrated knife that's probably 12 inches long on his floorboard.
Yeah, Tatum is such a bootlicker. I'm just going to say it. He is such a bootlicker. He's not even an owl. Like, come on, man. The guy's like this with his hands up and like this. He's not reaching like this.
Who rides around with a knife like this? It's not reasonable to have a knife like this. People in the comment section land when they ask majorities like doing things are the same.
And I'll return to that point in a minute.
Okay.
McNeil was at best passively resisting an unlawful arrest and never.
It wasn't an unlawful arrest. That's ridiculous. The arrest was lawful because again he asked to give up his, and he's not. So the arrest is lawful.
Attempted to flee. And the severity of the crime was so incredibly low that nearly every officer that responded to the scene was in active violation of the same law McNeil was originally pulled over for. No headlights. All
right. So, but
even if it's true, it doesn't change the analysis.
Yeah, but even if it's true, but then we just
although it is indicia, it wasn't raining, so I mean, there's that. But at the time, it's different. So
and then it's funny because we just had watched TLA. Was like it's not raining at all, Now this guy said they don't have their headlights on. Yeah, because it's not because it wasn't raining. As we just did like a whole hour to show it wasn't raining at this particular time.
Headlights. Not to mention that one.
That doesn't matter.
It
I already
yeah.
said it is exempt.
See, you and this guy think alike, uncivil.
But when it comes to happening, if a person is just sitting there like this, that does not mean that they're not resisting.
Responded with the door was opened and he was ordered out of the vehicle. McNeil responded with, "All right,
Step out now."
They said, first of all, he's
all right. So he's so now they're getting him out. So now I think any other force after this, he's unarmed. He's being pulled out the car. You throw him to the ground, and agreed. Any other like should this, unless he's punching or kicking the cops back, but unless I see him actively fighting the cops, then I don't believe there should be any more force. My prediction. What do you think, Kurt?
In terms of getting him out of the car?
So they pull him out of the car.
Uh-huh.
He's passively resisting.
It's not clear. Yeah, I mean, well, I don't know. I don't know if I agree because he's been so resistant at this point that, like, you know, to put him on the ground and get him in handcuffs, I'm not.
Like, I think that's okay.
Is your objection to throwing him to the ground because he's being passive?
No.
Okay, so what was your objection?
If they like you said earlier, they punched him in the face a whole bunch of times while he was on the ground. I'm like that.
Well,
that
it's not clear they punched him in the face, but they punched him somewhere when he was on the ground.
Oh yeah.
I'll have to see it again because I missed it the first time.
Resisting. They told him to get out 7 or 8 times already. He got the door, and he was compliant.
And opposite cuff him and put him in and likely would have allowed the deputies to remove him, cuff him, and put him in a cruiser.
Good,
but instead,
you already had that
3 deputies pulled him in opposite directions while they punched him and threw him to the ground. In fact,
all right, that was excessive. I think what they were doing at that. When they pulled him out. If you saw what happened when they pulled him
3
out.
3 deputies pulled him, cuff him, and put him in a cruiser. But instead, 3 deputies pulled him in opposite directions while they punched.
Like that one that punched him in the face. Yeah, that's excessive. These cops should be suspended. What do you think? The punch was unnecessary to me.
The punch was unnecessary. I now agree.
Because
I said something completely contrary to that yesterday.
I'm sorry,
by the way.
I didn't.
No,
know.
I'm not. I'm correcting myself. I'm just trying to be honest with the chat. I said something different yesterday. I'm correcting myself and making a note of it because I like to be honest when I make a mistake. Because I made a mistake. Yeah. I was wrong. That's all.
Him and threw him to the ground. In fact, when viewing the body cam frame by frame, McNeil can be seen putting his hands behind his back before saying, "No, don't punch me."
Hold on. Listen to this guy. He said, McNeil said, "No, don't punch me." Where does he get "no, don't punch me"? If a guy is wrestling with the cops, he's not saying, "No, don't punch me" when nobody punched him. He's saying, "Don't touch me." He's telling them, "Don't touch me."
Audible.
Don't punch me.
Let's listen to
this. It's the craziest thing ever. Roll the clip.
Get in the ground. You can read it. Get in the ground.
They forced his arms behind his back.
So he's not getting on the ground.
Neil saying,
"Don't come out." They forced his arms behind his back, and just because they got his arm here, he's resisting.
Well, I know.
No,
all right, so he's on the ground.
No, don't touch him.
They said get on the ground. The punch there was wrong.
Go back a little bit, Nick. Even
so that punch there.
3 or 4 officers to force his hands behind his back, and he would still be standing up.
Tatum is just such a bootlicker. And I like how they stopped it with the punch. It's like if it's hard for me to get the hands behind your back, I'm not punching you in the face.
Mm-hmm.
That's just unreasonable. That's unreasonable. Mm-hmm. They don't train. He's an officer. That's the thing that pisses me off. He's an officer. They don't train you to do that shit in the police academy.
I'm one to give the officers a lot more slack in the heat of the immediate moment of what's going on right now, because the dynamic, especially from their own point of view, is not necessarily as clear as it on video. So, you know, the video provides us a lot more clarity than they probably had in the moment. Like the punch in the car is not as dynamic. So I'll fault them for this. But like what's going on right now, this is so fast and with so many people, I'm willing to give them a bit more grace, I suppose. So maybe that's Tatum's point with what's happening now. I don't know.
The heat of the moment, heat of the battle.
Yeah.
Listen, I arrested a lot of people.
You might have done. It's possible. I mean, we're not asking for any admissions.
No, I'm saying
you might have done some things that maybe were a little bit.
I've been in the heat of the moment, and I understand sometimes you
maybe push the boundaries.
Sometimes you get to the level, but in this case, you got 3 officers, 1 guy, his 2 people are holding his arms. 1 person is going and punching me in the face. If it's me, if I'm that guy's getting suspended. That punch is not necessary. It just is not.
Yeah, the problem is when the real problem is when they hit him on the ground. I watched. That was the point, because that was what I missed in the first video. I caught the punch. I didn't care originally, but now I do. I caught this, but what I missed somehow was the 7 punches the officer gave him when he was on the ground. I somehow missed that when I watched the video the first time.
Punching him in the thigh, punching him like a block. So they don't know the level of resistance that he's a second. Yeah. Once he hit him, he went down. Him in reasonable. That's reasonable.
McNeil in the legs and lower body several times, though McNeil already had his hands behind his back despite being punched.
Time out. He don't have the right hand behind his back. The officer is pulling his left hand behind his back. His right hand is not connected to his left hand. His hands are not behind his back like this.
Okay.
One is halfway behind his back being pulled by one officer. The other one is not even behind his back.
So the conclusion is you can punch him until you got 4 officers there. 1 on his head, 1 on one arm, 1 on the other arm, and 1 by his feet. And now you're saying it's okay to punch this guy instead of just grabbing his arm and putting it behind his back? That's not excessive? I don't know, bro. I think Officer Tatum, I think the bootlicking thing is starting to become more and more obvious. I understand you're struggling, you're wrestling, but where the hell do we get? Well, how do you get from here to 7 punches? I don't know. 7 punches is really excessive here. Matter of fact, I thought 1 punch was excessive, but 7? We're at a whole nother level.
Fair. Yeah.
It's kind of hanging out to the side because he's resisting. You can put
face twice, thrown to the ground, and having his face mashed into the pavement. After the incident, Deputy Bowers wrote in his incident report, the suspect was reaching for the floorboard of the vehicle where a large knife was sitting. This was obviously written to obfuscate the truth, so idiots like Tatum would point and say, see, had knife.
Yeah, because the video, that's a lie in the report too. If that's the report, that's a lie in the report. All right, well, it seems like, I don't want to go through more of this, but based on what I see, I feel bad to say it, but these officers, I think suspensions are extremely necessary. I think these officers should definitely be suspended.
Suspended with pay and a free vacation to the Bahamas.
I think they should be suspended without pay, lose a couple of days.
Okay.
I think this guy does have a claim for excessive force, because people forget. When you're looking at excessive force, you have to look at all the circumstances surrounding excessive force.
Very much so.
If he had a knife, okay, everything you're seeing now is justified. But he got out the car with no weapons. Police, the only thing is wrestling with someone where you're trying to put their hands behind their back and get control of them. That's one thing, and he's actively resisting. It happens a lot of times when there were protests. This would happen a lot with us. We'd appeal to protesters, would do things so we couldn't arrest them, so they would struggle and all that stuff. We couldn't just beat them up and kick them in the face, stuff like that. There were multiple officers, so we just had to, use extra force. And sometimes people's, because you're twisting somebody's wrist, their wrist to get hurt or something like that. But that wasn't excessive because we weren't trying to hurt them. But in this particular case, I think if you have officers, if you have 4 officers, 1 suspect, and officers start punching and kicking this guy in the face, that seems to me to be excessive, and because of the mismatch in numbers. But what say you, Uncivil?
I think that the police acted improperly. I think, especially with the conduct on the ground, seems excessive for what's warranted in the situation. So I don't know that really does anything with the criminal case. Again, 1983 cases can be really difficult.
Yeah.
So that's always a point of skepticism, because I know how difficult they could be from having reviewed so many of them. But I think that your call to have some sort of discipline relative to the police is warranted based on the situation. So that's my best opinion at this time.
And I agree with it 1,000%. There is no water on the cop's car windshield before the stop. Wasn't raining. Guilty of battery. Nope. I don't know. I don't know if number one, were those are we talking about the car that pulled him
I mean, yeah,
over, or are we
hypothetically,
talking about the other cars?
hypothetically it could lead to criminal charges against the officer, although that's exceptionally unlikely. But yeah, if you're thinking about it being a crime of like assault or something, yeah, you're not wrong for thinking so. It
Yeah,
could be
and
charged criminally, but almost certainly won't be.
yeah, the whole wasn't raining thing. I think it's just
Yeah.
I think you've lost. I'm sorry, DJ. I think you've lost the raining piece of it. And those other cop cars, they could have came from a garage or something because they made a call out. Those other cop cars came later. We even saw some of them driving up. So it doesn't mean it was raining. Like, and at that time when his car was stopped, we know it wasn't raining. So it all depends on where those other cars are coming from. Now the car that pulled him over, if that car is wet, then I would make that. Oh, thank you, Tony P, for gifting those memberships. I really appreciate it. To Uncivil Law. All right, thank you, guys. I've never cared for those punches. Yeah, I didn't care for them either. Thank you, Tim. He could have handed over his license, yes. Registration and insurance while requesting a supervisor, yes. Oh, he didn't have a did I have a license? Got it. Oh, he did have a license?
I think someone said it might have been suspended, but if it was, he's obviously not allowed to drive. So there's that too.
That's why he couldn't have his license. Go back and look at the right hand at the beginning of the encounter. The first police officer at the beginning of the encounter. I have to look at that. I'm not gonna go back now because we just Let's say go back to look at the right hand at the beginning of the encounter with the first information. Just think Tatum was part of the 1A. And a cop. This is 1A and a cop. I wonder why you don't think cops don't hold each other accountable. That's true. Yeah. I think Tatum is going above and beyond to make these cops look innocent. But as always, it's kind of what say you. What do you think? I think at the end of the day, I think the driver was 1,000,000% wrong. When the cops pull you over, don't be like this idiot. Give over your license, give over your registration. If your license is suspended, you got caught. Hey, you shouldn't have been driving anyway. Cops say, hey, get out the car. Just get out the car. You save yourself from a beating, from a vicious beating as that happened. And for the police officers out there, I think we can all determine when the guy's got his hands up and is sitting in a car like this, you're punching him in the face. You're looking at some problems.
That's fair. It's very fair.
Yeah. You're looking at some problems. And we all understand if he had the knife or grabbed for the knife or something like that, and I think that part in the police report where he said he was going for the knife in that part, I think that's essentially perjury. So that cop may lose his job. I've seen cops prosecuted for less.
Ooh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
I saw that happened. Matter of fact, I was on the DA team one time, and they charged the cops that beat an inmate up. And they said he was reaching for something, but he wasn't. It was clear he wasn't. And they for falsifying a police report, they got him for it. And yeah, he lost his pension. So, but with that being said, Uncivil, you got any last words for the good people of the interwebs?
No, this has been fun, and I look forward to more revision videos on rain and other aspects related there too, based on comments and everything else. Should be great. So
at the end of the day, just so everybody knows, TLA, when it comes to TLA's rebuke of Officer Tatum, I think the lead attorney, unfortunately, was wrong. I think Tatum was right. And then I come between these two, the Officer Tatum and this guy. I don't even remember what this guy's name is. This guy. I think Tatum.
Lackluster.
I think Lackluster and Tatum. And it's funny because I think in the same instance, I think Lackluster is being too friendly to the perp. And I think Tatum's being too friendly to the officers. And I think the truth is somewhere in the middle. I think both sides are wrong. And it's just happened to be a horrible situation. And I think at the end of the day, officers need to be retrained. And the guy without his license, he needs to be held accountable for, not complying. Because obviously his compliance had to do with him. If it's true he didn't have a license, we'd probably with that. So, any last words before we get out of here?
No, I'm good. I had a lot of fun, Nate. And I think everyone valued you buying back lives. Nice to see you again. You're the man, Nate.
Inclement weather doesn't mean just rain, guys.
No.
We did a whole 1 hour analysis about the rain.
No.
The rain. Let me know how you feel.
Apparently with CCR, not Kansas. So I'll correct myself before I sign off. I saw you guys in chat. CCR, not Kansas. Sorry for the Kansas was the dust, not the rain. So hard to keep these phenomena straight sometimes.
And also just remember, even with the rain, it's reasonable suspicion. It's not probable cause.
Was it purple rain?
Doubt. Yeah. Was it reasonable to believe that guy was driving in the rain? But again, we don't know. And from the evidence, honestly, but the evidence that we've just seen, I don't know if he had his headlights on while he was driving or not. I honestly don't. And I don't think anybody's providing the evidence to show whether it happened or not, but we'll see. All right, with that being said, this stream is ending. Thank you guys all, and we'll see you in the next one.